a great network, very influential network.
Thank you for all the great music and all the fun. And life wouldn't have been the same without it, for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Zach Selwyn, lead singer of Zachariah and the Lobos Riders and Country Linen. You are listening and watching the All Over the Place podcast, where the fun sanity never ends. You know what it is, y'all.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Porvoznik, and we are just chugging right along here in 2026. And a sad event happened right at the end of 2025, and it was I want to call it a virtual death, but a death nonetheless. And that involved beloved to so many through the years, 1981 to 2025, no longer with us, MTV. And we are going to be talking about that tonight. And for that, let me bring in Jim Culver. How are you, Jim?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm in a fantastic mood, except for the fact this is a melancholy kind of night. But, we're going to be reliving a lot of our favorite MTV memories and threefer and some honorable mentions and just what MTV meant to us. And it was such a presence. And he's wearing his Squatch, the Squatch MTV, back at it again. Hello, Marty. How are you?
Hello.
So yeah, like I mentioned, it was MTV came on the scene 1981. Not a lot of households, and the irony was it wasn't even where MTV recorded. You couldn't even watch MTV because it wasn't yet on the cable stations there. But it was so many places across the country, from New York to LA, Heartland. A lot of those places that had cable, all of a sudden had this vibrant and different way of not just listening to music, watching it, obviously. And it shaped so many things in such a quick way and became such an influence on culture and television. I mean, Miami Vice, I know you guys are fans of Miami Vice, and just the huge influence that had on Michael Mann. And as a filmmaker, too, and just movies just got a little slicker, a little less substance, but that just a byproduct in that regard. And also you had bands like Boston and Kansas and Styx and the AOR guys didn't really fit into an image conscious situation, and it let bands like Duran Duran and Flock of Seagulls and just so many come in. And it's like, well, I'm trying to think. We didn't get cable in our neighborhood until I think 1982. Marty, when did you? Since you and I are closest in age, when did MTV get into your household?
Well, we had it right away. I grew up in the LA area, LA suburbs, and we had it right away. What
was the first video you remember seeing?
Of course, I want to say, the Buggles. I was there from the beginning. I wasn't, but it was some sort of like a Don Henley or something like that. It wasn't like necessarily my music, but it was a cool video, and I was like, man, this is neat. And I don't really exactly remember the first one, but it sure was different. One of the things that we all clued into was these guys are rock stars, or whatever you want to call it. We'll call them rock stars. I wouldn't call it Depeche Mode rock, but hey, they were rock stars. Okay, so there were so many people that like, ooh, he's got a face for radio, but you didn't know that. Even if you went to the concert, it was far away or on a screen that was still kind of far away and kind of pixelated, and so you didn't. I mean, you could. And when they do a photo shoot, of course, they're going to make it look good, and there's no way to hide it in a moving video. And we saw a lot of guys that were like, ooh, man, that guy doesn't look like a rock star. So I think it added a little bit of a flavor to the music you already loved. And then you got to kind of see like, oh, these are, maybe a little more normal guys. These aren't the amazing figures that we thought they were. You hear them on the radio and, they seem like gods, but maybe not so much.
And Jim, what about you? What are your first MTV memories?
I actually didn't have cable until I was about 12 or 13 in the early 90s. the house I mostly grew up in was just a rental out in the sticks, so we just didn't have cable out there. So it wasn't until we moved into a new place. When I was about 12, so early 90s, like 1991 ish, that we got cable. So I kind of missed the whole 80s era, but me and my sister definitely got into MTV after that. And but yeah, almost all my memories are from that 90s era. So that's where my list is going to be pulling from.
So
That was
do
a
you
good
remember,
era.
did you have did you see it at maybe friends' places? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Well, so because for me, the first video I remember seeing was at a friend of the family, and because they lived a little further out, so they had cable before we did, before our neighborhood did. And so I remember the first one I remember seeing was Huey Lewis in the News, "Do You Believe in Love?" 82, and then right after that was Aldo Nova, "Fantasy." So it was the first two I remember. So and I believe once we got cable into our house, it would have been White Wedding.
Okay.
First one I remember seeing.
Yeah.
So
First
video, remember like the first one that you saw at a friend's place, and the first one you saw when it was in your house.
Well, first video I remember seeing ever was at a friend's house, and I think that was Thriller. So
that's right. Your sister tortured you with that one. That's right. Yes.
Well, you started with a good one, at least.
One of many ways she tortured me was making me watch that when I was way too young. First one I remember seeing on our TV, I'm gonna save because it's on my list.
Okay. Well, we'll say. Well, you know what? Enough with enough with all the hoop. I don't remember the exact lyric from that Jefferson Starship song that gets so maligned, but it is a good line from the song. It'll come to me later, but enough with the hoopla. And now let's get to our list of our favorite MTV moments. Going to you, Jim, starting your way.
All right. So my number 3, I'm going to go backwards. My number 3 is Eric Clapton on MTV Unplugged doing Tears in Heaven. Just beautiful, powerful, like so emotional. Just even as a kid, not really getting the context, I just got choked up from that song a little bit. And finding out later, what it was about, him losing his son, obviously gave it a whole new dimension, but, just a really beautiful song and really, really touching. It's been on my playlist for a long time, but it's hard to want to listen to it over and over again because it's slow and there's a lot of emotion behind it. But it's just a gorgeous song and I love it. So, had to put that on there. And man, that performance on Unplugged was just legendary. It was amazing.
And Unplugged was still kind of finding its feet. And I don't know if I wouldn't have Clapton's performance in my top 3 or maybe even top 5, but that performance, and especially Tears in Heaven, and then making the acoustic version of Layla, really helped, I think, legitimize what Unplugged was and what it wanted to be.
Yeah, for sure. And he was maybe not iconic at that time, but that was really when he was somebody. He was a big somebody, and from Derek and the Dominoes, and then moving on to a solo, he was a big deal doing that. So that was a big get for MTV to be able to have him do that.
Yeah, and he had some MTV hits, but he was more or less seen as like the old school rocker, the classic rocker, and that introduced him to a whole new generation.
Yeah.
I think it was the first Clapton song I ever heard at that time, and I'm definitely a fan now. But at the time, that's kind of what I knew him for until I went back and discovered some of his older stuff.
Yeah, my dad had Cream around the house, so that was my introduction to Eric. So yeah, but great choice, love it.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Marty, going to you now.
All right, well, I'm gonna take you all back to March of 1996. I was a young man. I won't say how old because that'll date me. We don't want that. But I was freshly divorced, 6 months ish, being on my own, and still feeling the world out as a fully grown man, alone in the world, or so to speak. So it was an interesting time for me. And I get a call from my friend Mark Valencia.
Yes.
He's a brother of mine. And he says, "Hey, man, did you see the spring break thing?" I said, "No, I haven't seen it yet." He goes, make it a point. Make a point to see it. So, all right. So that night they were replaying it. And it was like mid-March when the spring break thing was. So I knew it was coming on later on. So I made it a point. I got some beer and I'm like, all right. And he's like, you're not going to believe this freaking band. And the band was No Doubt. And he's like, you're not going to believe this chick. She's really cute, but that's not all. She's super charismatic. And the band is so tight and really got their shit together. And I'm like, well, what kind of music? And he's like, kind of ska, kind of. I'm like, all right, whatever. Man, I was blown away. So that was a moment for me when I was kind of introduced to my new set of music, so to speak, because I was always a kind of a metal guy. And then I spent a lot of time just strictly in the church, didn't listen to secular music, none of it. So I'm coming out of that, and this was like my first band that I was like, wow, I really dig this band. And it was I don't know, kind of represented like a reawakening. I wasn't sheltered anymore. I wasn't living in my little bubble anymore. And I'll tell you what, man, I love that band. I quickly got the album and just listened to it all the time. But so that spring break was a big moment for me in MTV, and obviously it was big for No Doubt. But man, I still like the band, and even some of her terrible solo stuff I like. I mean, they're a really good band, and she's really talented. And I know she writes a lot of breakup songs, but hell, they all do. You can't really. Oh well, all she wrote was breakup songs. Have you ever heard of Stevie Nicks? I mean, this is what they do. From
Well, I got to ask you: are you going to be heading up to see them at the Sphere in Vegas?
I would love to, and if the timing's right, that would be outstanding. That would be excellent for my first trip to the Sphere, because I've really been wanting to make that happen. But I got a lot of irons in the fire, so we'll see.
Yes, you do.
We'll see. But I would sure love to.
I would go see that one. I'm hoping. I wanted to make Wizard of Oz my first trip to the Sphere, but at this point, anything short of seeing Fish there, I would consider an awesome experience.
You wouldn't go to Fish, huh?
Not
Bouncing around the room.
Let's say not a jam band guy unless it's the Allman Brothers or Black Crowes. And over my shoulder here, North Mississippi All Stars are a very good jam band thing too.
Would you consider Iron Maiden a jam band?
I consider them an awesome prog metal band, as we have discussed on the show. Shout out to Brian Urso for our prog rock show, where I dubbed Iron Maiden my number one prog band.
So anyway, spring break, No Doubt, and there was a lot of other spring break. Biggie did a thing at Lake Havasu, and there was some cool stuff that they did with spring break. I thought it was a pretty good idea. It kind of got out of hand there for a while, but what the hell? That was kind of the point.
As the 90s did, as it wore on, as it got closer to that second Woodstock thing, the 30th anniversary of Woodstock.
Oh man,
sorry, 30th anniversary.
That's a can of worms to talk about.
We got a whole Netflix documentary to that. We'll just leave that to the Netflix documentary.
Yeah. But yeah, No Doubt, very iconic in the 90s. Absolutely loved them back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on to my number 3. I'm going to go to 1992, and that would be the Video Music Awards that year, hosted by Dana Carvey, coming off of the popularity of Wayne's World that year. And he did the one very specific segment I want to mention. Still, I get a chuckle out of it. Just they did a link up, which at the time was difficult.
Sure.
Satellite hookup. They went to U2, who was performing at the Pontiac Silverdome and on the Zoo TV tour. And just as a coincidence, that's where I saw U2 5 years earlier on the Joshua Tree tour. Shout out to the no longer standing Pontiac Silverdome. Great place to see a show, even when you're far away. But
even if it's U2.
There you go, my lob you a softball, Marty. Even if it's U2. But they hooked up with him, and then Dana, of course, as Garth, doing the whole "I'm not worthy." He's like, "Hey, Bono, I hope I didn't. I didn't mean to boog you." and total taking a swipe at Bono's pomposity from the Rattle and Hum when he's trying to shame people into the message song he was trying to get across to people. It's like, oh, am I preaching to? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to boog you. So it was that way, Dana Carvey as Garth, nice little side swipe at him, and Bono laughed. He got a kick out of it. So he taking a little piss out of himself. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and that was great because probably the main reason I don't like U2 is Bono.
Yeah.
If you'd have just shut up, they're a pretty good band. I can't do it.
I would say that ship sailed with music in general, but anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah. Or pretty much anything else. I really love a person that shuts up. It's like
just make it more of a musical journey and less of your preaching at me, boyo. Musical journey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jim, over to you for your second pick of the evening.
My number 2, not a specific moment, but just general liquid television. Yeah. And for those who did not watch TV in the 90s, don't remember that era, probably never heard of liquid television. It was a late night show on MTV that showed a series of animated shorts. Some of them very surreal, some of them very, very weird and twisted, borderline R-rated, I'd say. At times, very heavy metal like. But seeing that as a preteen and a teenager, I think it was maybe the first show I ever stayed up after everyone went to sleep to watch on my own. And
that's excellent.
Just love staying up and watching that insanity. Just such a fun show, and so many iconic shows came out of that. Beavis and Butthead got their start there. Daria, of course. So that's 2 shows that I loved as a high schooler. Office Space started on liquid television. Basically, Mike Judge's entire career started on liquid TV. So King of the Hill and everything else he did, it all started there. And Aeon Flux, which I will just say came out when I was just the right age to appreciate it.
Did the movie do it justice? The one with Charlize Theron?
A lot of fans said it didn't, and I agree. It really didn't have a whole lot to do with the show. But I feel like that show is so out there. There's no way they could have done it as a live action movie ever. So they just took it in a different direction and made an entertaining sci-fi story for what they were doing. Mm-hmm. I kind of see it the same way as like the World War Z movie. It really had nothing to do with the source material, but they felt like the source material was unadaptable. So they just went in their own direction and just made a good movie. And of course it pisses off fans because they slapped the same title on there, but you just try to enjoy it for what it is. If it's well made, you just enjoy it for what it is. So it made a decent movie, but it really wasn't an adaptation, put it that way. But yeah, Liquid TV was just something really unique and special, and I really enjoyed it. It's basically the YouTube of that time. Like you can go on YouTube and see this kind of stuff all the time now, but back then there was no YouTube. You just had to stay up and watch cable and catch something like that. So, but it was just really something different. There was nothing on TV like it in the pre-internet age, and I really enjoyed it for that that era of my life. I really enjoyed something like that. So
yeah, a little bit of a lot of similarities to Adult Swim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of pre-Adult Swim. Exactly. Yeah.
Which is, can be good. Not the same for sure. Not the same, but can be good. I've enjoyed some of it.
And it seemed like such a natural outgrowth because MTV with their bumpers and their commercials and like their station ID with all claymation and stuff, they'd always been at the forefront of challenging new ways of animation. So great call with Liquid Television. Love that call. Because I the first time I saw Milton with the stapler and everything,
right?
I thought that originated on SNL. because I saw it as a short there. But so I recently learned that Liquid Television did it first, and then
Yep.
SNL.
Then it
picked
jumped
up.
to SNL. For sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is not, like I said, Liquid Television isn't very well known now. And so a lot of this stuff kind of had a life of its own, but this is where it all, this was the genesis of a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I think it deserves some credit for that. And it came out, I think they had a DVD set of it, back in, I want to say the early 2000s. And, so you can kind of collect this stuff. I don't know if I don't think it ever came out on Blu-ray, but if you can track this stuff down, it's really interesting to see this and to see some of the stuff they put out and how a lot of these kind of iconic shows got started.
Yeah.
And it was a lot like MTV, something different. There was nothing else like it. There was Liquid TV. There was nothing else at all like it. There were so many bizarre, different things going on, and none of it matched each other even really. It was just a lot of odd, cool things. They just were like, let's just try anything. Let's just do all the odd stuff. And man, it sure worked. Because it was, TV looked a lot alike. TV was a lot alike. There was kid shows, there was daytime TV, there was adult drama and sitcoms. I mean, and it just repeat. And this was different in every way it could be, in the same way that MTV was different.
Right. Yeah. TV was very cookie cutter back then. So, just to have this late night show that just takes all these acid trip animated shorts and just throws them all at the wall to see what'll stick. And it really was. It's hard to understate how there was just nothing like that at the time. And how
question for you. I can just imagine that being a really good fertile ground for a guy like Rob Zombie and all the animation he does. Did he have anything on Liquid Television of note?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
No, I don't think so.
I think Zombie was kind of already established. So, but it just seemed like a perfect place for him to get his art groove on.
You would think. I think really just the music videos he did were kind of the lab he played in, to create all that stuff. And I think when he really got big, that was after Liquid TV came out. So I don't think he was a part of that, but he would have fit right in there for sure.
Yeah,
it was excellent. Right. I forgot all about it.
Yeah. All right, well, Marty,
about it in 30 years anyway.
Well, what do you remember, Marty? What is your next pick?
All right. Well, so number 2 on my list here is, again, not really a moment, but a series of moments or an idea. The obvious, the VMAs, right? I really liked the idea because we had the Grammys, we had the Oscars and the Emmys. We had award shows, but they were made for adults. And even though I was technically an adult, but I was just like, this is boring. And the Oscars had its thing. There was movies that I watched and I liked. So, but man, this was different. It was like a party. They made it different. And there was always something. There was always a big happening. And whatever. I mean, Madonna makes a big splash in '84, crawling around on the stage in a wedding dress. There's so many, on and on. Britney Spears comes out with Snake, reminding us that she's still hot as hell. I mean, there's tons of them. The Eminem with the multiple Slim Shadys. I thought that was
that was so cool.
Fantastic. That was so good, so well done. What's another one? Bone Thugs and Harmony. What a great performance. That was done so well, and you didn't get to see that a lot. There wasn't a lot of vehicles for that kind of thing. To have a music group have a good budget production, and you can point to the Grammys and all that, but that was a little stuffier, especially back then. And this was just let her rip, and even though we would see it as tame now, Madonna and Britney kissing, that was,
and Christina Aguilera, don't forget the threesome.
Well, I wouldn't say it was cutting edge. She was a pain in the ass. She was a curmudgeon. um, but it was it wasn't taboo really, but it wasn't that common to see that, and it was a big thing. I thought it
Early
was cool.
2000s, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, I wasn't there, with my hand in my pants or anything, but I thought it was pretty neat. It was kind of sexy. And everybody was like, "Oh, that was gross. Madonna's so old." Yeah, well, she's many, many years younger than I am now at that time. So she wasn't that old.
She's still Madonna, especially at that
Yeah.
point. She was still
So
Madonna.
I thought that was very cool. So just those big memories and being able to tune in and watch these big acts go big, do something, a little bit like a Super Bowl performance, kind of have a lot of things going on or whatever. These bands, these acts could do some stuff, do some cool stuff. Lots of time to plan it, lots of money to throw at it, and it always, not always, but it usually turned out really cool. Really, it was fun to watch, and it was a breath of fresh air from all the other stuffy award shows that I just was bored with. So, kudos to them.
What's that? What's that?
Here it is.
Nerd alert. Nerd alert.
All right. So, who remembers, since you brought it up, Marty, you brought up the 1984, which was the inaugural year. We have 2 bits of trivia going on here right now.
Good Lord.
And trivia part 1. Who were the co-hosts of the first MTV VMAs?
That should be easy.
Well, do we have any guesses?
Bob and Doug McKenzie.
I like that guess, but I will say that one of them is a periphery music person, and the other one would come up a few years later with Beaches and make everybody cry with Wind Beneath My Wings. It was Bette Midler and Blues brother Jake Blues himself, Dan Aykroyd.
No kidding.
It's an interesting pair.
Well, that's...
And it actually worked. And my mom and dad both liked them respectively. So we actually got to watch the VMAs. I commandeered the TV a lot with MTV. But here's round 2 to potentially redeem yourselves here, gentlemen.
Oh my!
Who?
Not liking our odds.
Okay, well, this named the band, and for bonus points, the video that won the first video of the year.
Very first one. It was nope. I was going to say Dire Straits. Nope.
That would have been 85.
Yeah. But see, I was close.
I will give you a clue, and the clue is not me going through middle-aged puberty again. The clue is you can see the album in my shot right now.
Can you make yourself big? Not in that way. I mean,
hold on a second. Let me get everyone here. We'll go to I'll go to our 3 shot. No, that's not going to do it. We need to go to.
You're going to have to be the big picture.
There we go.
Johnny Cash. I knew it. It was Johnny Cash.
No, below Johnny.
It's smaller than you think.
Okay, well, here, I'll bring it into frame for you guys.
Jesus Christ.
That would be the Cars' Heartbeat City. The Cars.
It's getting harder every time.
It just turns into, like, check it out. And it's just a big reflection.
I tried to get the glare out.
The Cars, huh?
The Cars you might think.
Oh, that makes perfect sense with the Rick Ocasek and the Fly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was the more famous video from that one, I guess, would be Drive, which featured the woman who would become his wife, Paulina Poroskova.
Well, yeah, the song was very popular, but interesting. Those 2 videos, that one and the Dire Straits, they both are very unique, which at the time was the way to make a cool video, is to make it very unique.
And they're so primitive now, but at the time, cutting edge with just the different animation.
And odd. They were both really odd. You know, the Dire Straits one had the weird animation mixed with the live performance. It was odd. It was, you know.
Yeah, and it touched up animated live. Yeah, it would. The early years of MTV, which is where I'm going to go right now. And
They were trying everything.
So I decided to don. I had a feeling Marty was going to wear the Squatch MTV, so I put my MTV on the shelf tonight. I wore Howard Jones, who I saw a few years ago. So this is my HJ here. But and what I loved about MTV was it became a radio station for acts that weren't going to get played on mainstream radio. I mean, a few of them broke through, like Duran Duran would make, Casey Kasem's top 40. NXS had a couple. Pat Benatar, who was kind of started in radio, but then she made a lot of great videos. So, but it was MTV became like a global, not too long after the 80s, but just a national radio station where you would hear bands like Flock of Seagulls or Big Country, Midnight Oil, bands like that. Who's another one? Missing Persons. Just these really cutting edge new wave bands who you weren't going to hear unless you're like a college radio station. But and it's weird in that they like Midnight Oil and Big Country, technically one-hit wonders. They both have only one top 40 song each. And Flock of Seagulls, people usually just think Iran. They had two other ones, or what do you call it? Men at Work, Men Without Hats. I don't remember Safety Dance, but Pop Goes the World also got top 20. But all these bands, especially the true one-hit wonders, Midnight Oil, Big Country, they were all over. They were in heavy rotation with all their videos. And so someone my age wouldn't consider them one-hit wonders, especially if you were an MTV addict like I was. You just say they weren't a one-hit wonder. Or Marty, we've talked about this, so actually you might remember this. So Jim, I'm going to ask you this question. More. Okay. This is only semi-trivia with Eric, so I'll only put it up for a second. Van Halen's "Hot for Teacher." How high do you think that got on the Casey Kasem top 40 chart? America's Top 40. 19. That only got into the mid 50s, early 60s on the chart. Bearing in mind, it was the last single released from 1984, but that was all over MTV. That was in the heaviest of rotations and doesn't even crack the top 40.
Yeah.
Just show the power of MTV to bring music.
And the video was very cool, which got people to actually hear cool music.
And it's no longer friends about it. You got to see this video. Yeah. You got to see. It was no longer about you got to hear the song. You got to hear the song.
Right.
And see the video.
If you weren't into Van Halen, but then you saw the video, your eyes are drawn to the video. Meanwhile, you're getting some tasty music.
Music goes into your brain.
Yeah, listen to that. That's a pretty cool song.
Yep.
And there's something else you touched on, the whole national audience thing.
Yeah.
What station did you listen to in high school?
High school, I was mainly WIOT, which was Toledo station, but there was also Detroit's Wheels. There were two Detroit and the Riff. So classic rock. That's what I was listening to on the radio.
Right. So I had KMET and KLOS, classic rock. At the time, they were just rock at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't, they weren't classic yet. It was a long time ago. But even though we were listening to the same kind of music at the same time, it was really separated by a lot. But with MTV, everybody was watching the same thing.
Yeah.
All the same stuff. Everybody was getting the same show, the same countdown, the same videos, and together, the whole across the country. I know there were some time zone issues there, but everybody was pretty much hearing all the same stuff at the same frequency, same amount of times, not radio frequency, but frequency of views. And that's kind of the first time, that happened with music. It happened with sports and TV shows and stuff, but it had not really happened with music because there wasn't a medium to listen to music nationally.
Yeah,
well, you get the Ed Sullivan show and stuff like that in the 50s.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was one show. It wasn't an entire channel. So
Yeah, and it was typically not wall to wall music either.
right. Yeah.
So that was a turning point there that that now we take for granted. Everything's global.
Right.
Every single thing is, we can all sip from the same pond all the time. Whenever we want, everybody's got access to it. So back then, it was not like that. And there would be bands, and that's back when there would be a band that would be really big in, say, the Midwest, but not so big here. Or, there you go.
Michael Stanley
Or a
band,
band
case in point.
really big in Canada. April Wine. They were massive in Canada. I was vaguely aware. I knew some of their songs or whatever, but because there wasn't the national sort of everybody listening or everybody hearing the same stuff, and MTV changed that for sure.
Yeah, at that point, Dick Clark would play songs for one audience, or Soul Train, and
Right.
that was
Casey
it.
Kasem on the radio, but Casey Kasem would do a countdown, but that wasn't necessarily it wasn't, all day every day. It was just one show that did that.
Right.
And it was one of the first ones. It was like Casey Kasem's Coast to Coast. So it sort of shrunk the country a bit.
Yeah.
It made these bands, it opened them up to other regions that they might not even be able to, if we didn't know about them here on the West Coast, but they were big over in your part of the country, they're probably not going to get into a big venue here. They're not going to get as exposed. Whereas if something's on MTV, it's important. That was just sort of the understanding that what you were looking at, it must be important. It's on a national network.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember it sparked something. MTV was having like a battle of the bands, but a national battle of the bands, and they would go to different regions in the country. Because I remember there's a Toledo band that actually got on. They didn't go far, but it allowed exposure to these bands all across the country.
Yeah. That's it was a really, really big deal. It made me more than I even realized.
Folks, the brunt of our audience is our demographic, but for anyone who's checking in on this, and you have no idea, and I'm going to get into it a little bit more when I get to my number one pick, but MTV just changed the course of so much in music.
There was nothing like it before.
Worse. A lot of, I recognize the downside to it, but I think the positive results of what MTV brought to the table. And
for sure. And younger audiences are gonna think, why are these guys gushing? What's the big deal? Well, because they have access to everything now.
It was huge. Like I mentioned earlier, advertising, movies, television, everything. It affected everything.
Yeah, there was nothing like it before. It was a true original. It was a very, very original idea, and it wasn't anywhere else. There wasn't anything else like it.
European markets had been doing videos for a while, but not in the way that MTV did it.
Well, there've been videos forever. Led Zeppelin had videos. Like, there was videos, but you would see them on a show here and there, like American Bandstand. You could see these guys go up and lip sync or whatever. That was national, but wasn't the same. This was constant. So you got lots and lots of music all the time. And there was a time where it was the same 25 videos, but
And Don Kirshner, I got to throw a shout out to Don Kirshner.
Don Kirshner's rock concert was excellent.
Yes. But we're going down too many rabbit holes right now. I'm going to throw it back to Mr. Culver for his honorable mentions and number one.
Okay, so honorable mentions. I'm just going to say, as a general one, Celebrity Deathmatch. Probably my favorite show on MTV.
Claymation fun.
That might have been on my top three.
Yes.
That would be a free for in and of itself. Just a couple of your favorites.
Yeah. So probably my favorite. I don't know. So my favorite fight would probably be, it was Weird Al versus, I think, Al Gore. That one was
That's pretty good.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Weird Al whapping Al Gore with a stick while singing like a parody of the national anthem, I think, and while singing about beating him up. It was hilarious.
Not Al along the Watchtower.
Oh.
That was a good one. There was one I can't even remember who it was it was like the Olsen twins versus somebody else, some other set of celebrity twins. But then, and this one had like the worst, it like aged the worst because the joke was that the third Olsen sister that nobody had ever seen was like a demented freak kept in a cage. And then at the end, then she gets let out and just like kills everybody. But that ended up being Elizabeth Olsen, who ended up being more famous than either of them. Yeah, just that show was just
that was excellent.
MTV was good at kind of building up some of these vapid celebrities, but it was also good at tearing them down with stuff like that. Saying don't take these people too seriously. We can make fun of them all we want. It was a different time when you weren't supposed to, venerate celebrities and listen to their opinions about everything and all this crap that we do now. It was just like, these are dancing monkeys and we should make fun of them because they're overpaid and take themselves too seriously. So let's make this stupid show where they beat each other to death and rip each other's heads off and just do like the most violent stuff you can imagine.
Super graphic, but done
super
in
graphic, but it's
it's
claymation and stupid. So you can't take it too seriously. But it was hysterical. I love that show. And God, if there's a show that we need to bring back in 2026, that's it. What else? Okay, so MTV Movie Awards. There's lots of moments I could pick from that. Chewbacca getting a Lifetime Achievement Award was pretty great.
That was pretty good.
But the one I've got to single out is the skit with Ben Stiller being Tom Cruise's stunt double.
Yes, I still watch it from time to time. Hilarious.
Because at the time, Tom Cruise was he's Mr. Intense, Mr. Tough Action guy. There was kind of a feeling that he took himself a little bit too seriously. Like he would never go on SNL or anything. People were like, does this guy have a sense of humor? Is he like that serious? But that sketch, man, with Ben Stiller just poking fun at him right to his face is hilarious. And something about the two of them working together, I feel like Cruise can just relax around him, and of course that led to the glory known as Tropic Thunder. That's a great sketch. I love that one.
And celebrity is shorter than Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. They probably both wear lifts, but anyway. So another one I got to mention. There was a fellow on MTV back in the 90s called the Old Dirty Bastard, ODB. May he rest in peace. But he did some really funny short videos on there. They were kind of like Chappelle's Show before Chappelle's Show existed, kind of really cutting edge satire. But there was one he did. I remember this from when I was a teenager. It kind of blew my mind. It was after, he got rich and famous, and he goes back and films himself collecting food stamps. After he's rich and famous, he films himself walking into the food stamp office and getting his food stamps. And just right on camera in front of the whole country, and then walking back into his limo and driving off. I'm like,
hilarious.
Man, that kind of social satire, you'd not get away with that today. So
in my best Chappelle by way of Rick James, or Rick James by the way of Chappelle, cold-blooded.
Oh, absolutely. And then one more I got to mention from the VMAs, which you brought up earlier. This was the 2003 or maybe 2004 VMAs. I can't remember, but it was so Johnny Cash was up for The Man Comes Around, whichever most people assumed was going to be his last, major album release, and it was, other than some albums that came out posthumously. A lot of people were pulling for him to win. It went to Justin Timberlake. and it was kind of a shocking upset. Justin Timberlake comes up there, and the first thing he says in his victory speech is, "I demand a recount." And
Yep.
he
He
dedicated
impressed
his
me that day. Yes.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. He dedicated his entire speech to praising Johnny Cash as an icon that inspired him. And
That's
to
awesome.
give up that entire victory speech to Johnny Cash, that, Justin Timberlake is forever in my cool book for that.
Yeah,
So
that definitely endears him to a lot of people.
absolutely. I mean, he was a young guy. He could have just gotten up there and just made it all about himself, but he didn't. He knew exactly where to put the appreciation, and he nailed
He
it.
was a Southern boy. I think he even mentioned he was from Tennessee, right? So,
Tennessee. Yep.
and the
Oh, yeah.
Hurt video was just like that. That was Johnny's
Oh.
farewell, and yeah,
Man, yeah, one of the best videos of all time, no doubt about it. So, so that's my honorable mentions. My number one, I have to make this my number one just because it had such a deep personal impact. So this was probably the first video that I saw on MTV, with on our own TV, at least the first one I remember, and that was Enter Sandman. And I had never seen anything like it. Obviously I'd heard some metal on the radio, but that video just blew my mind. I was like 12 years old, never seen anything like it. I mean, it was, it was obviously it rocked. It was intense. It was scary. It was just so freaking exciting, man. I just fell in love with hard rock right then and there. And of course fell in love with Metallica. And that whole video just gives me chills. I mean, the old man reading the prayer to the kid, and just everything about it is so good. And of course the song is amazing and always will be. And yeah, it was just kind of my gateway drug into metal, and never get tired of listening to it. When I was good enough to for the drums, the first thing I did was learn the drum parts of that song and be able to play it, which I thought would impress everybody in my high school, but it didn't. But that's okay. I impressed myself, and it doesn't
right.
sound.
You'll meet them on the long road to the middle.
It doesn't sound great when it's just the drums by themselves. I'll just say that you kind of need actual instruments to go along with it. So, but yeah, amazing, and just left such an impression on me seeing that video. Just being aware of what music could be, what music videos could be, and just hit me in a deep, very deep place. And yeah, that was it.
there you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe
cool.
you should have gone with the drum solo for one instead. That has a little bit more flash. That it's Metallica. The drum parts rock. End of story. I don't care. But we talked about this when Dan Schinder was on the show. Lars Ulrich gets too much shit from people. The guy can drum.
Yeah.
He can drum. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll leave it to the musician part only. So, all right. Well, Marty, swinging it over to you for your honorable mentions and your numero uno.
All right. Well, I'm going to. The honorable mentions will be tied into the whole thing because there's so much of it. But to the surprise of exactly no one who knows me, because for me, music. I started out with my parents' music, which was a little bit hippie-ish, and there was a lot of acoustic guitars, James Taylor, Jim Croce, Cat Stevens, on and on, Paul Simon, on and on, right? Even like Doobie Brothers, their stuff before Michael McDonald. So I always liked that. And then I moved into my own music, which was metal. Well, it was punk. I was in the punk scene for a bit, and then it was metal. So it was just hard, heavy, a lot of distortion. But my first love, and what I still to this day really enjoy, as much as I like a concert, I really enjoy walking into a small venue where it's a dude sitting on a stool with an acoustic guitar, and then maybe a guy some with a hippie djembe or whatever, just making some cool mellow music, and just you can it's a more intimate experience. And of course, what I'm talking about is MTV Unplugged. What a great idea! It was brilliant to do this. And at the beginning, it evolved. At the beginning, it was different. It wasn't exactly that. But when I kind of not discovered it, but when I really latched on and realized, man, this is I'm shaking the camera. This is exactly what I'm
Sense
into.
around.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to sit up because I really like this. It was in 99. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, let me back up. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Joe Satriani. The show opens up with Stevie Ray Vaughan on a 12-string guitar. He's playing that thing like it stole his girlfriend. I mean, he is just ripping, and he's a virtuoso, one of my favorite guitar players. And watching him do that, and then Satriani came. He was on a banjo at first, but he did his thing. And then that just was like, this is great. This is what I love. The smaller venue, the smaller, a little more mellow. And of course, I still love metal. That was still my music. But man, this whole thing, and it was just, it was perfect for me. It was something that came along at a great time, and there wasn't much else like it. I don't know who discovered, like, hey, it's a good idea just to have these guys have like an intimate thing. But man, these giant, big arena type bands doing this thing on a small stage was fantastic. And the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing for me, my dad and I that was one of the bands, one of the guys, one of the music that him and I shared. And that was the one we shared the most. We really loved Stevie Ray Vaughan, both of us. And we had other likes because I obviously loved his music. But we really connected on Stevie Ray Vaughan because he was a modern guy playing music that my dad liked. And, my dad's gone now, but anytime I hear Stevie Ray Vaughan, it's hard to listen to the whole song because I get emotional. But besides that just sort of kicked it off. And let me just 1990. It's unreal, and it went on. In 91, it continued, but in 1990, Don Henley, Great White playing "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You." I just rewatched it. It's fan-fucking-tastic. So April, Don Henley; May, Great White; June, Hall & Oates; August, Elton John; Aerosmith was in September; Crosby, Stills and Nash was also in September. And then you had Rat in October, the Black Crowes in December, and also in December, the Allman Brothers. I mean, this is just one after another.
And I will take the Way Cool Jr. version unplugged over the original, which I also love.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of like Layla. I think I like the original better, but man, I really love the acoustic version. So this just opened up a thing where, and then, everybody remembers the next wave that came after this wave of ones where they're like, well, let's do some modern guys. And we got, Nirvana was the big one, but Pearl Jam, and I think we got not Jane's Addiction, but who was the other big one that from the 90s?
Well, Stone Temple Pilots did it. Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains was another one that did it. Yeah. So
Development, which was interesting for a rap band to do it.
Yeah. So we got a little more of a intimate look at these stars. Seeing them on stage with explosions and massive amps and all that is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but it was cool to see a different side, to see the musician, to really see that these guys don't need all that shit. They're still absolute, masters at what they do. And I just loved the show. I watched all of it whenever it was on. I've seen them all a lot. So as you can tell, I really dug it. Just love Unplugged. It was such right in my wheelhouse, and I just couldn't get enough of it.
Let's see if you can guess what my favorite was.
Oh, the Replacements.
No. Notice, folks, I have not brought them up tonight. I had an opportunity, didn't. But no, I love it. Dennis Leary.
I was young.
His
Leary.
what? That's my number one. And that I love Stevie Ray. All the ones you've brought up, I love them. But Dennis Leary, because he had some funny songs. And
Yeah.
at the beginning of the show, he's out of there. He and his band are all huddled together, and one of the PAs comes over and says, "Hey guys, you ready to go on?" Well, no, because they're doing boom, bop, boom, dun, boom, strum, pluck, 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 strum, pluck. Is she really going out with? And the PA comes in, "Hey guys, so what are you doing?" Well, we're practicing. It's MTV acoustic, right? Instruments, acoustic instruments. Comedians, and the PA walks off. Then they cut to the show.
That's good.
Which gave us such great songs as "Asshole," the Kennedys,
Yeah.
Irish drinking song, where they make fun of you too. There you go, Marty. And I think they make fun of R.E.M. in that one as well.
Yeah. And Dennis Leary gave me one of my all-time favorite lines. I want coffee flavored coffee.
And Dennis Leary, we got a lot of our introductions to him were on his little MTV, his shorts.
Yep.
So
and remote control, he was on that as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The start for Adam Sandler.
Indeed.
And before I surrender the big screen to Eric for his, I have a little note here. Is it just me, or did Nina Blackwood seem like an ex-tweaker? She had a vibe of an ex-drug addict. I couldn't.
In the music industry? What?
This guy is.
For me, I thought she was the one who chain smoked, more than Keith Richards. That gravelly voice. I never thought of her as a tweaker. Just a
She
six
just seemed
pack
like
a
an
day.
ex-drug addict to me. Like she's in recovery. That's what I thought. That's just what it seemed like.
Well,
I've
Fred,
met
I
lots of
was
people
paying more
like that.
attention to Martha Quinn at the time, Marty. So I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to Ricky Rackman, by the way. He had a great show. Loved it.
Beggars Ball. There you go. Bring it.
Beggars Ball.
To us.
I was. I rarely caught it on the live. I would catch the rerun because it was on Friday night, and I caught it early on because I did have a curfew when I was a freshman, a little into sophomore. I had some expectation of getting home, so I would catch Headbangers Ball. But
Headbangers Ball didn't debut until you graduated high school, though. That didn't pop up until 85, 86 at the earliest.
85, oh, that's a good point. So, yeah, no wonder I had to watch the rerun because I was never home by then.
your first wife gave you a curfew. We'll go with that one.
No. It was, 85 is my senior year.
Yeah.
So
I
certainly
after that though, but yeah, it was late.
I certainly didn't catch any of those because I was out on Friday nights doing shenanigans. But always loved it. Always loved that sort of. I had a buddy that recorded all of it on VHS. He's got boxes of it.
There you go. Like it.
Very cool. Anyway, so you're number one, Eric.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my best to keep this as quick as possible, just because I MTV, as I've been mentioning the whole this show, meant so much to me as a music lover, and then having this new medium to have at my disposal, and I'm surprised that my parents let me watch as much of it as I did, because we only had one television for me in middle school and high school. That was pretty much the case with a lot of households, unless you were like really super rich. You had the family room, and everyone watched on that TV. And I watched a lot of MTV. My mom, she would marvel. I don't know how he gets all of his homework done. I don't know how his grades stay up. He's always watching that. He's always watching MTV. But they like to watch too. There are enough artists that they dug as well. But and also, I mean, live. You talk about boxes of VHSs. I sat around. I had 5 or 6 tapes of Live Aid. I watched that from sun up when they went on the air at Wembley, and I watched till the final one in Philadelphia, and I had that for years. No, I took out some of the commercials, but I had every last second of that stuff, and that was an entire day, and no one else. People knew just Eric's watching MTV right now. It's Live Aid, and they would bip in and watch from time to time too, but. And G. Betty was there that too, because the only break we took was to go out for my brother Mark's birthday. It was his birthday the next day. He's July 14th, so July 13th, 1985. But yeah, I took an ice cream break, made sure had a new tape in there so it wouldn't miss anything. But,
And you probably thought about it the whole time you were at dinner.
Can we go now? Can we go now? Can we go now?
That thing is recording, right?
It was Mark's birthday. It was free ice cream. I was cool. But no, I mean, Live Aid, obviously, just that we could do an entire show unto itself. But
And your favorite performance from Live Aid?
Oh, that's been brought up in the show, and that would be U2's Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, backing up, obviously, Freddie Mercury and Queen is the end all be all. But in terms of, had Queen not ruled the day, U2 would have, because they just, that was their moment when they just went from this to that and set the stage for what was going to come next with the Joshua Tree. So that, I mean, it's, I also, I mentioned Martha Quinn earlier, but that entire original VJ cast, just great stuff from everybody. Martha Quinn, Nina Blackwood,
Mark Goodman.
Mark Goodman, and why am I blanking now?
You're on the spot.
It'll come back to me. But I do want to send a shout out to Daisy Fuentes, who is my favorite of the next wave of VJ getting into the 90s. Very, very, very easy on the eyes. And, you mentioned those the MTV spring breaks. Daisy Fuentes in a bathing suit. So, yes.
Yeah.
JJ Jackson. There's the other one. I just said JJ Jackson. And before I get to the final VJ who just shaped my life, and that's how monumental and what that network meant to me. But I can never bring up enough love for this band on the show. In Excess, they defined MTV. And videos is what got them exposure here in America, whether it was The One Thing and Don't Change from the Shabu Shaba. They're an Australian band. They're an Australian pub band. They broke big with that over here thanks to MTV. And that album came out in 82. And then just every album, their videos were always cutting edge. And they took the most advantage of MTV. Then going into Listen Like Thieves, Kick, X, and the 80s. It was their decade. And they were also the winners of the 1987. No, I'm sorry, it would have been the 88 VMAs. They took home the prize for Need You Tonight.
For Video of the Year?
Yes, Video of the Year, yeah. And then so I think that award won 4 or 5, maybe even 6 awards that night for best editing, best video, everything. But for fear of going on with way, way too many memories and influences, I got to give it up to Alan Hunter and his Amok in America. That changed me on what I wanted to do with my life. And watching this guy who was just, he was a big ball of positivity. Alan Hunter, just, there's never an air of smug to him like Mark Goodman had a little bit of that, like, I'm better than you kind of thing.
I'm a cool music VJ. And you're not.
Yeah, and JJ Jackson was just like super smooth. Nina Blackwood brought her, like that, like I said, 6 pack of smokes a day, and but she was cool. She played some harder edge stuff. And Martha Quinn, just America's sweetheart to the point. My first girlfriend looked like Martha Quinn. Anyway, for fear of getting any creepier with that one. But Alan Hunter, Amok in America, where he was a man on the street guy. He went from coast to coast and just bipped into little towns along the way. He's a Southern guy himself. He's a Georgia boy, I believe. And he's also a theater guy. So, and I learned that later, but just an immediacy and like always positive. And that made me think, this is where I wanted to go with my life. And I want to be like a combination between Alan Hunter and at the time when he was much more cutting edge before I got so cranky, David Letterman. That's what I wanted to be. And then
Wow.
eventually throwing in a little bit of the Bob Costas influence with just being all over the place with stuff. But Alan Hunter, Amok in America, whether you like us or not, folks, I'd like to think you do like us because you're here. We would not have this show right now because that led me down a path to wanting to interview people, wanting to spotlight different things that are going on, like the things that, just not just run of the mill stuff, just getting in there and having fun interviewing people and just bringing out the best in others. That was Alan Hunter, Amok in America, my number one, MTV. Thank you. I wouldn't be here without that network.
Wow. That's impressive that you had that sort of direction, that sort of aim, or whatever you want to call it.
I wanted to be a VJ, and I probably should have gone to at least try to get an internship when I was at Penn State with connections to New York. But yeah, it was huge, very, very huge, and it shaped me.
That's pretty impressive that you had that sort of clarity. I was seat of the pants type of guy. I didn't, I rode motorcycles and listened to music and drank beer and worked construction. I didn't have any like aspirations to be something. That's pretty cool.
And just my first radio show at East Halls Radio, my freshman year, just pulling people out of the halls on there because the radio station was around the corner from the dining hall in East Halls. So you had the mailboxes. So there's always traffic. I would just pull people into the studio and talk to them. And that Alan Hunter, that's what it was. Yeah.
Very cool. But, very, very cool. And
I wanted my MTV. I got my MTV. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for putting up with the MTV and enjoying it from time to time.
Well, the positivity, you certainly exude that. I almost said exhume. You exude that.
REM, assuming McCarthy.
Super positive guy. You have a super positive vibe all the time, even when things are not going great. You're still positive, and you obviously maybe that was part of why you gravitated towards them, because that's what you thought. That's how you felt. And I try to be friendly to people, and I try to make people's day better or whatever. But I'm nothing like you. You're super.
Don't sell yourself short.
Fuck off and leave me alone. And you never are like that. So, kudos.
Yeah, anyway, but well, hey, folks, I'm glad we were able to get these MTV memories. Honest to God, folks, we are going to have a show that does not hover around an hour at some point. But
no,
MTV, I'm glad that all three of us had some really cool memories with MTV, and it's unfortunate. Well, it makes sense. There's just way too many places to see videos now, and MTV is an entity, and I will not get into the bashing. Like, MTV is 47 years old this year. Thanks for 14 years of music. It's so what? The landscape changed, is what it is, and MTV no longer with us, but always, as you can tell from watching the show, meant a lot to not just us, but anyone who is a Gen Xer, and maybe even a little bit beyond that, into the millennials. But it's a great network, very influential network.
For sure. Thank you for all the great music and all the fun, and life wouldn't have been the same without it, for sure.
Absolutely. I miss my MTV.
I miss
my
and
MTV.
Look, hey, Marty, you're next. Jim now has an all over the place mug. Let's just show it up there again, Jim. Go to the middle. We'll clink.
You know what? I should.
Other way.
Wait.
There we go. And then bam. But and folks, please do not forget to check out Danny Zalesko Presents for all your concert needs from coast to coast, especially here in the Southwest. dzplive.com/events. Also, Vinyl Record Dude, vinylrecorddude.com, or their store out there in Scottsdale at the corner of Scottsdale and Shea. Drum Talk TV, brilliance.com. Dan Schinder and his fun team over there. And also make sure you're going over to keep track of Kathy Rankin, all of her various ultra super cool projects. And she's at Instagram.com/rushfanatic. And we are all over the place. Thanks so much for watching, listening, sharing, subscribing. We're continuing to grow, folks. We always thank you, and we will be back really soon where the fun sanity never ends. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All over the place where the fun sanity never ends.